Have you ever woken up and the house is already loud, already tense, and you can like feel your day getting hijacked before you've even stood up? 2 years ago, I had a series of like unfortunate events that led me to having to stay with my grandparents. And this morning, for the first time in a long time, I was having a very, very vivid dream. And this was like one of those like dream simulation type dreams where it's like training simulation dreams. And in the dream, I'm sitting there working on editing, I'm working on content, and I was feeling so passionate and so much excitement, even in the dream, that like I literally wanted to wake up out of it so I could get started working. I kind of started to wake up a little bit, but then dove back into my dream state. It was when I was starting to do this that I started to hear like familiar cadences I had heard before. Those cadences happened to have been my grandparents arguing. So that wakes me up. I get up out of bed, go use the bathroom. From the bathroom, I can overhear their conversation. I'm sitting there eavesdropping, something that's kind of an addiction of mine, I hate to admit sometimes. But I'm sitting there listening, and then I just start thinking, how do people wake up negative like this? How do you like wake up arguing with someone? And it was puzzling me because this was a conversation they've had a million times. At some point, I snap out of these looping thoughts and I'm like trying to recall what I was dreaming about because I was going to go downstairs and work on it. And I was just digging and digging and digging, bro. And I was just trying to remember what the dream was, but now it was just gone. It was just gone. Then I started thinking about how this isn't new. It's just the same old. And just kind of realizing that I've been in this type of environment my entire life. And then unfortunately, as a grown man, I'm now having to re-experience the same things I experienced like in childhood. Thinking about how long I've been around this dynamic of just people bickering and arguing and just anger and frustration, how it's affected me, how it's affected my friendships, how it's affected my relationships, especially my relationships. Because it's like when I see the way they kind of go about it sometimes, it's like I see me in them. And it's like I see one thing that's really been hitting me lately is like I see the exact type of man I don't want to be. I see the exact type of person I don't want to be. It's like being around people who constantly are dwelling on the past and being negative, and they don't have any type of vision for the future, no hope for the future, no passion, no will to live. And this is when I started feeling like, or even knowing that it's time for me to drift off, go somewhere, and do my own thing. Circumstances make that hard right now, but that's what I realize I truly, truly need to be around other like-minded and creative people, probably like you as well watching this video if you clicked on it. What's made it tolerable and kind of made me comfortable, what I've realized too, is weed and smoking weed. Whereas it made me comfortable mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, I was just still like, it was just still so much friction to where it's like unavoidable at this point. Literally unavoidable. Whether it's from my parents, my grandparents, living or deceased, this is a pattern in my life I've been seeing repeat. And this isn't really a critique of my family. It's just me using them as an example to show you guys, as it's showing me, that we have to get out of our own way if we want to be happy. We don't have time to be sitting here worried about the past. We don't have time to be sitting here worried about past relationships, past jobs, things that are trying to stop us and be negative and distract us from our course of action. We need to be learning, reading, training. We need to be loving, sharing knowledge, sharing information, and most importantly, we need to be using our God-given gift to create. That's what we're all should be being pushed to do right now. And a lot of us are, and a lot of us are answering the call. And what's really put this fire in me is that in October, my grandmother passed away. And when she passed, she left behind some of her journals. I had no idea she was writing. But from reading her journals, I got to see almost a literal mirror. It was like a female version of me. Her thoughts, her insecurities, not all of them, but a lot of her insecurities and thoughts were my own. A lot of her writings seemed like they were written straight from my hand, straight from my pen. The thoughts of her insecurities, her allowing life into negative circumstances to keep her locked away and to keep her tucked into her own isolated house, becoming a lone wolf. And for me, for her, and I think a lot of us out there, COVID really kind of expedited this phase and really kind of sealed it in. Me currently, I'm still trying to rebuild my life after COVID. I moved states, went through a relationship, got sober from alcohol, a lot of different stuff. Getting back into my art and my photography, because then, you know, you're getting older, so you got to start working, start trying to pay bills. You lose sight of your mission, your goals. You're trying to fit into societal standards, or everything that kind of just comes at us. All of that I was able to kind of see in her writing. And what she didn't do was, or what she chose to do was, she chose to let all of that isolate her and stay that way, to where she started to regret it in the end. And that's something I too don't want. And I too, even though as an introvert and as someone who loves being alone and just working on what I'm working on or reading, also have this desire to be around people. At the same time, as paradoxical as it is, I have a fear of being seen while also craving being seen. It's not validation, even. It's just being seen, to know that I exist. As I always like to say, and one of my favorite sayings is just putting my hand on the cave wall, just saying I was fucking here. The amount of times I talked to her on the phone, and she would mention her isolation or her being alone. She'd be like, "Oh, me, I'm alone. I love being alone. This and this and that. You know me, I'm gonna play my Whitney Houston. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that." Presenting positivity to the world, presenting positivity to me, us, whoever, leading me to believe, like, yeah, she's straight. But I mean, of course, deep down, I'm knowing, she probably feels a little lonely. But you get what I mean. She's telling us, I'm good. And how many of us do that? How many of us, when someone calls and asks us how we're doing or asks us how we're doing, we're like, "Oh, I'm good, I'm fine. Yeah, I love it." But her writing said otherwise. I do believe that it was true that she was happy. She learned to be happy. But underneath that happiness was the constant suffering of isolation and the constant suffering of regret, of not believing in yourself enough, or being crazy enough to believe in yourself to do the things that are up here. And that's something that her death and her writings have now removed from my mind, have now removed from my consciousness, have now been removed from my reality. And I'm already seeing how now people around me don't even really know how to take it sometimes. Because in doing that, I received something so positive and so enlightening and so divine from my grandmother's death that I'm thankful that I can share it with you guys, and hopefully you watching this can take what I'm saying and apply it to your life and or whatever. It's just kind of me talking to you guys, if you will. And especially for me as a neurodivergent person, I'm starting to realize how important it is for me to have certain routines and for me to just literally get out of my own way. When I don't want to do this and don't want to do that, to do it anyway. I've been looking around at everyone around me, and I just see so much suffering, and it's like I refuse to just suffer endlessly for no reason. If I'm going to suffer, I'm going to turn my suffering into something. If I'm going to suffer, I'm going to transmute it. If I'm going to suffer, if I'm going to sit here and be angry, and I learned this from someone I literally met the other day while I was doing Uber Eats. He was telling me that, when you're being positive, when you're trying to conquer, and life is being negative, that's when you double down. That's not when you go, "Oh, life's beating me up again. Oh, they're arguing again. Oh, now I'm distracted. Oh, now I don't feel like making my content." No, that's when you double down on creating the content. You double down on creating it. Period. And this isn't about cutting people off. It's about consciously refusing to inherit their memory. It's about consciously refusing to inherit their misery. and transmuting it into something fluid, something that can move, create, and breathe. Is doing what I'm doing right now. Instead of being negative and letting it get you down, instead of letting it affect your energy and how you're feeling and how you're going to go about your day, forget about that. No longer are we going to sit here and dwell on things for 2 and 3 hours all day, a week, let it mess up our whole day to where now when we go to work, we mean mugging people, or now when we go to work, we're not our jovial selves, or we're not just going to let it affect us anymore in that way. Instead, when these situations happen, you come, you write it down, you write your thoughts, you cut your camera on and you speak your thoughts. Get you a $20 tripod, set up your camera and just go. This shit is super uncomfortable for me. It's super uncomfortable. Super. And I'm very overcritical of myself. I'll spend an hour sitting here trying to come up with this and do that. Even ChatGPT is telling me, hey, you don't even need a script for this. I'm not going to create you a script. So I'm not even using a script because I like to be too perfect. So even with this is really off the dome and off the cusp. And again, in a moment of vulnerability, I guess I could say it's a fear of not being accepted in a way. Like, I guess for me, I'm afraid I'm gonna come on here and start speaking my truth and talking, and I'm not gonna get accepted. I'm not gonna get loved. You feel me? And as someone who has experienced a lot of love in their life, but maybe not necessarily from the crowd or the people that they wanted to receive it from, I guess that's like a little freaky thing to do or whatever. But again, that's getting out of our own way, using our life and the things around us as inspiration, as motivation to transmute it. Start writing your thoughts down. Start organizing how you feel. Start sitting with yourself. Start meditating for 5 minutes. Get out of the house and go do this and go do that. And one thing I've really noticed is that they don't create. They don't do really much of anything, but just kind of sit and ruminate in their thoughts. And I'm seeing how dangerous that is. I'm seeing how the mind becomes the devil's playground. A saying that they used to say to me all the time as a kid. But now I'm seeing them almost. That's what's crazy too, is as I'm getting older, I'm seeing my family kind of live out all the things they were kind of telling me not to do or whatever. Huh. I've been talking to my grandfather lately, and he's expressed how he wants to leave, or he feels the only way that he can leave and pass down things to us, to his family, is through money and resources, which is much needed, but we don't have that, or he doesn't have that. With my grandma passing, me being able to read her journals, and he's not currently married to this woman, but with me being able to read her journals, I've been able to learn a lot and grow and literally change my life just from off of her writings. So maybe you should start writing down your life story and writing stuff. And then you can pass that on to us, especially since you have two other pretty much you have two other grandsons that are finna be adults. Or are adults now pretty much. And they need your words. They need your wisdom. Not only that, other young men out there need that as a Vietnam vet or whatever and stuff like that. So we have choices in life. We can choose the light or the dark. We can choose to sit here and dwell on our baby mama from 20 years ago. We can sit here and dwell over relationships from high school that scorned us, or that one kid that made us feel like a fat loser. Or we can sit here and do things that are positive and beneficial to our lives. We can learn better and cleaner recipes. We can start gardening and growing our own food. We can actually get involved in our community. And I don't know, make it a better place. That's another thing too. We're done complaining. We're now, we shape our reality. We shape the reality. We have to take control of that and engage in that. We have to start changing ourselves first and then start integrating that with our outside community in order for us to see the change and the reflection that we want to see. The reason why we're not seeing that is because everyone's just in their heads in the house. Now, I don't blame anyone for that, and I don't think we should simply because everyone doesn't know. And there's about a million different weapons and devices and algorithms out there designed intentionally so that that's exactly what you're doing, because they don't want us to have to be able, or not to be able to, they don't want us to come together and sit here and think and create and actually fix things, because then we won't rely on them, we won't be divided, and they won't be able to hoard all the wealth and resources to a small group of people. So I think on that note, I've kind of gone through my notes. So yeah, I've gone through my notes. This video's probably gonna be the first in a long line of me starting in the morning. I want to start writing more in the morning and kind of, I don't know if the word is clairvoyance, but kind of channeling more positivity out there, more love. I wouldn't even necessarily call it guidance. It would just be like, hey, I'm in the shit with you and I'm getting out the shit with you or something. I don't know. But you guys let me know your comments down below. Let me know what you think about some of the things I had to say. It's your boy Nubis Devante. Peace, love, and light. And I'll be sure to see you in the next one. Peace.